From Frontier Communications, Hilary Hahn. First, some supporters to thank, and thank you for listening. This episode is supported by CCW Digital, leaders responsible for operations, information technology, contact centers, customer care, service, and support are invited to register for a free CCW Digital membership. Membership includes networking with 100,000 plus qualified industry professionals, quarterly executive research reports, product matchmaking, and more. Go to ccwdigital.com to join the community. This episode is also supported by the CCW Conference and Expo. The event will empower you to test, learn, and try the next big thing in customer experience optimization. Are you interested in mining data across touch points for personalized and predictive data? Are you trying to integrate your systems to get a more complete view of the customer? Are you figuring out what innovations to invest in? Chatbots, virtual assistants, AI, VR, biometrics, to name a few? Go to callcenterweek.com to register. Recorded at the Chief Customer Officer Exchange, Hilary Hahn joins us and shares why employee experience, culture, and creative strategies are all under her purview. The focus on customer experience is an inside-out philosophy. For Frontier, customer experience is run as a think tank, an innovation hub through agents. Managing the employee experience is not easy with tight budgets while focusing on the bottom line. That said, by starting with the right foundation of specific guiding principles and remaining consistent with communication and engagement, while setting standards of excellence around employees, a best outcome can be achieved. And in one case, an entire town has been completely transformed for the better through a public-private partnership. Welcome to CCW Digital on B2B IQ. I'm your host, Seth Adler. Download episodes on ccwdigital.com or through our app in iTunes, within the iTunes podcast app, in Google Play, or wherever you currently get your podcasts. From Frontier Communications, Hilary Hahn.
Employee experience, culture, and creative strategies at Frontier Communications.
Why are there these three things? There's three things. You have three jobs.
I have more than three jobs, maybe, but well, we have first and foremost, we focus on customer experience by starting with an inside-out philosophy that it's really an employee driven culture that we're building. Mm-hmm. So our employee experience is foundational, it's essential to our success, and we also add in, but employee experience typically is tied to HR.
Yeah.
And my boss, who runs all of the Frontier Customer Care organization, as well as this other business that's a standalone business within Frontier, that we have sort of a customer experience think tank, innovation hub, as we like to call it, of about 25 agents that do work for just two clients who really focus in the area of customer experience. So he has responsibility for all of that, and he believes that there should be a role that is, leads employee experience.
Right.
And is focused on making sure that employees are happy to come to work every day. Sounds simple, not that simple. Just right. As simple as it is to assume, earlier in life that having a white picket fence with a dog and two kids and a happy marriage is simple.
Yeah, life is easy. No, I think this is a good point.
Yeah.
We when we're kids, we think life is going to be easy. This is going to be great. Just wait until I'm an adult.
Right.
And then along the way there, it kind of gets a little bit more difficult than that, right?
Clearly. It's not that easy to attain those simple visions.
And so we all know as employees and as also, managers that this whole, employee experience, that's just not easy.
It's not easy, especially when you're not, you don't have tremendous budgets necessarily to throw at it, and you're running an operation that's very focused on, monthly operating income and profitability with very slim margins, but you want to start with the right foundation of what should be our guiding principles around what we're trying to do as a big strategy. And if you start with the employees and remain consistent in how we communicate with them, how we engage with them, set our own standards of excellence around them, really develop our mid-level managers and above, which has been, a very strong focus that we believe in terms of how we get the best outcome. Because people, they don't leave their companies, they leave their supervisors typically.
Absolutely.
So,
Almost every time.
all right. So it's very important in the kind of environments that we set up that we provide all the right foundational requirements so that people are clear in what their objectives are for their job, what they're coming to do every day, but that they're also in an environment where we support each other, we have fun. So I don't know if we want to get to this now, but we've created these cornerstones and values that we've been able to build off of, and that's made for a place that we can tell our stories from.
Maybe before, because I'll do it in reverse order, because before the cornerstones, in other words, we're at the Chief Customer Officer Exchange, right? And you did a little session, and I saw the videos, and we're going to get to, some stuff at the end. But you had, what's his name?
Kevin Kane?
Yeah, Kevin Kane, who has an amazing voice, by the way. We got to get him a record contract.
He'd love that. I think he is also a preacher. He has been a preacher,
That's
so he
very
loves
believable.
singing.
Yeah. So before you do the cornerstones, just tell us about him.
Okay.
Right? And, he said something, and you had, some kind of commentary to support it. He was just so thrilled that you let him be himself. He was just so thrilled by it. And then he's dancing and he's singing, literally singing and dancing at work.
And he does every day.
Right.
Sometimes to the chagrin of some of our administrative assistants, one in particular who sits nearby. But we're like, go for it, keep dancing, keep singing. So that's really the premise as well. It's like coming and letting people be real to customers, but also being real to each other. And
Right.
being themselves is so... It's not, again, something that a lot of companies allow to exist in, especially in this type of a customer care environment.
We got to put you in the box, and you got to do these things.
Right. Well, that's one of the things I have to say. I'm not a fan of putting things in a box.
Right.
And we love real personalities, and we see that those are the teams that thrive because it allows people. And again, so Kevin Kane, he works in our DeLand, Florida center. That center's been with us for 10 years.
Yeah.
He's been with us for 3 years. We call it DeLand of Opportunity and many other things. But it's also the DeLand of super agents. And so we've created this iconic super agent from a caricature that was born out of one of our coaches helping us develop this.
Uh-huh.
And since then, we've taken that theme and we're looking for real stories from our agents and coaches from the front lines to be able to keep telling our stories and fuel them with their own personality. So
Yeah.
Kevin Kane's one of those guys who, easily stands out for us, but we have many. Kevin was willing to do this video short film that we came up with, and that whole theme around real super agents kind of fits him very well. He started at the front line. He became, he grew into, by performance, becoming a senior and a lead, and now he is a coach. And he's so proud of what he does and his team loves him. And their turnout for NPS for the client is remarkable out of that team. So it all just, it all fits together when everything's working like that.
Absolutely. And I mean, you see him and you hear him talking, and like, as a consumer, I almost want to be on the phone with him, right? You know
Yes,
what I mean?
you do. And, he sends out those thoughts of the day because he does feel, personally that there are people who come in and you're not in the best mood every day. I mean, it's not all fun and games. And
Right.
there are, sometimes customers aren't in the best moods when you're talking to them and all that. So you have to kind of keep motivating people. And he does it in with all these different decibels, I would say, So anyway, I'm on his, feed list of the thoughts of the day. And he hit me with one about a week ago that, normally it's just like, okay, it's great. It's inspirational. I love seeing Kevin Kane's name come up on my email feed. But I have to say, this one was like, I said, is he speaking right to me? And my boss, because of some scenarios, basically sent the same thing to me, and I had just sent it to him. So it was really funny. It's like, but those are things that, again, he's allowed to do on his own.
Yeah.
And bring that every day. Be creative, be your own person.
Be creative, be your own person. He's obviously doing that with a tremendous amount of success. However, there are those cornerstones kind of around that person, right?
Right. So what we took a while to actually consider who are we and why are the clients thinking that we're so special. They've got, they work with their own badged teams that they think very highly of, and other outsourced partnerships to handle their customer experience and customer care on a very large scale. And yet they constantly come to us and say, you're doing something different. Why is it, you've got this special sauce? And so we tried to figure out what is that. And with great introspection and talking to our own employees in a very measured way with, an intent in mind to come out of it with some values and cornerstones, we have developed some. But I want to say before I tell you what they are,
Sure.
I think it's really important that you can't do that sometimes right off the bat. You have to let it sort of percolate, simmer, and figure out whatever you come up with, it has to resonate and be real to the employees. You can't
Right.
just stick stuff up on the walls and say, this is us.
Here they are.
Exactly. And so many companies do that. So I was actually, I'm very impatient. It's certainly a, positive and a negative about me.
I
So
have the same affliction.
it's very hard to wait, but the waiting in that case was worth it because
Right.
I think we hit on the things that really are, that we're all very proud of and we all feel are us. So we say, be human, be curious, be mindful, and be in it together. Be human is really...
Is that the Kevin Kane piece type of thing?
Well, that's super agent. That's who we are every day. Be human, be real. We don't use scripts. We really want to talk from our heart. We want to use our intellect as well as our emotional quotient to give the best, experience to whomever we're speaking to from that perspective. And we call that the human experience overall as well. We also want to show that to our friends and neighbors. We want to actually, be human every day and not forget that. It's hard to be on the front lines. They're getting, whether it's you're doing social media or you are in the community channel or whether you're in any form of a digital channel, but certainly on the phone, those calls are coming one after the other and you're constantly having to make it feel like it's the first call of the day.
Yep.
And so how do you get in that right mindset? But I think so many of these companies approach it in a much more factory-like setting. And again, this opportunity to say, we want you to walk in that door and be yourself, but be on and be ready. And that really has paid off. Be curious, it's part of our DNA. We like everybody to question authority and be inquisitive and look for solutions to new things and think about what we really do share the strategies that come from our clients and help them understand what the big aha that we're driving towards is, so then they can take that and recognize what they can contribute to it from their interactions with the customers. And so much of that comes back in a closed loop form through various measures, but certainly roundtables and back to the product developers at the client level, et cetera.
All right, so, you're kind of mentioning the best of it. I would imagine it's also sometimes frustrating for you to provoke so much curiosity?
Well, yes, that can happen. You do get hit up with a lot of things that everybody wants to go do, change, what ifs.
Yeah.
And,
How do you manage that, I guess?
I think what you have to do is really have consistent follow-up, and you have to be respectful for people's ideas. And I think that with our lean team, we do the best that we can so that we can say, look, these are great ideas, we put them up. They know when we get excited about something, we try to do it, but we say sometimes we can't accomplish it or this isn't the right time. But we really listen, and we do want to hear it, actually, because there's some great idea in there that will make a big difference. And then the small ones make little differences that make a big difference in the end, too, if you can accomplish them.
Sure.
I would say we haven't run into the point of time where it's been too hard to manage that yet.
Right. Because you're fostering this really positive environment and you are actually listening, even if we're not going to go ahead and work on that one right away. Folks are feeling listened to.
Yeah.
Folks are feeling heard.
And
right?
it also sparks them to, think about things in a different way. And I really think those are where the ideas come from the front lines, dealing with the customers, figuring out what the customer wants or what the tools are and doing to help the customer or whatever. And we don't know it until we're sitting down and talking to them. So I get upset if there aren't ideas coming from the front, and so do my peers.
Right. Okay. So that's where the ideas come from. You get upset if they're not coming. You love when they do, which brings us to be mindful, I would imagine.
Yes, be mindful. So we like to be agile and perceptive about listening to the customer. So some customers may call and, this is the big call of the day, and they could be at, very different points in their life. And you want to be respectful for all different types of customers and thinking about time in customer time. That's actually something that...
what does that mean?
Well, instead of, there are various metrics that customer contact centers, are driven towards.
Sure.
And one very significant one is average handle time.
Right.
We never talk about that with our workforce.
Huh.
Because, again, in the whole spirit of being human and being, your own personality and being able to solve things efficiently, effectively, drive for resolution the first time. But there's also the piece of being perceptive and mindful of the customer's time. So we call it customer time. If you're considering the way that customer is engaging with you, you can really adapt and be agile and be mindful to address that customer again as a human being, but in their own, in the right way for that customer to get what they need out of the contact.
Do the call in their shoes type of thing.
In their shoes.
What about the your colleagues that are listening to this saying, this is insane, you can't do that?
My immediate peers or people in the industry who...
People in the industry, peers who are saying, well, you don't pay attention to time on the phone?
Okay, so let me be clear. Everybody does have, we have barriers and basic blocks that we look at. If somebody's always talking about the weather or the sports teams or whatever and way more time than needed for the type of
That's
interactions.
Over the line. Right.
So we kind of use those as guardrails to measure that. But it helps, again, that each time somebody is creating an interaction with a customer, they have the flexibility to be smart about that and use their experience, their confidence in the right way for that customer.
What's the last one, the last cornerstone?
Be in it together. And that is one of those, again, simple to say but not easy to do. And I think there are so many companies that, people are pitted against each other for opportunities of advancement or for, team spirit for who's winning, and what we really do is help the person next to you succeed. And as we help those around us in very positive ways, when they're down, when they're up, be in it together, and then all boats will rise. And that is, I would say, very much something that has to happen from the top. And my boss, Kelly Morgan, is an extraordinary leader. I have worked for many in my career, and over the last 5 years really find his approach super leaderly. So Kelly's whole point of view is that being in it together is very much about we will all rise together. And he establishes that amongst the people that he keeps close to him. We're not yesers. We never yes him, me the least probably. We challenge each other, respect each other immensely, puts people with complementary skills in the right roles, and then lets them go and thrive and do. And then we are able to lead our own teams in a very similar way to give them that kind of unleashing to go out there and do some of the best work of your life. And, you wouldn't think necessarily this can occur in what's known as a call center. We call it customer care center to give it a higher echelon. But it really does. And it's a powerful thing when it's all working like that.
So he sounds like the perfect boss for you, personality-wise.
He is.
Right?
Yes, I like that kind of style.
But he lets you do your thing. He lets you talk back at him.
Well, respectfully.
Of course,
yes,
of course.
Yes.
What I'm getting at is you, right?
Okay,
so
well, I don't want this to just be about me.
No, it's not going to, because we got to talk about whys, right?
Okay.
Yeah. So this gets us to you, right? So where are you from?
I'm from New York, Long Island.
Right, of course. That's how we have to say it, Long Island. But Oyster Bay, though, for you, right?
Yes.
And so describe Oyster Bay for those listening not from Oyster Bay.
Well, we're sitting here in, where are we?
San
Diego, and I'm seeing palm trees and ocean. And we have water, but it's Long Island Sound, and it's beautiful, wooded, and about 30 or so miles away from Manhattan, but very much still feeling like you've gotten away when you get home.
Right. And much better than those bastards in Glen Cove, right?
The North Shore. We have the North Shore versus the South Shore. People who don't know Glen Cove aren't going to get this. But what was that book with Nelson DeMille? That amazing book about the whole area. Oh, my God.
No, not Nelson DeMille. F. Scott Fitzgerald.
Oh, well, there's that, too.
Oh, you're talking about something different.
Yes. The Gold Coast. Have you ever read The Gold Coast?
No, I never read that.
Oh, my gosh.
Yeah.
Well, especially from where you're from, you would appreciate it.
There you go.
Yeah.
All right. So what were you doing as a kid? Were you like, best in the class, sitting in the front, putting up the hand? Were you in the back making jokes?
I don't know. I was a little bit of both.
Uh-huh.
I'm
Social.
very,
You were very social.
People did always want to be my friend.
Right.
So that sort of followed me.
Right. So he's the perfect boss for you, Kelly is, right? Tell us more about this management team that you have, because I want to kind of get to Wise and why that happens.
Okay.
At a company like Frontier, because you showed this video, and now I would love for you to just kind of share what that is. What am I talking about with Wise? What happened?
Okay. So again, respectfully back to Kelly and the idea that he hires folks who have these certain talents. I mean, I never saw the likes of this, but we hired somebody to come in and help us on an operational senior level while Kelly's responsibilities were growing, and he couldn't be in all places. So we brought in Todd McReynolds, and Todd actually lives in Wise, Virginia. And is a very strong operational leader from his background, and but did something that really hasn't existed, at least certainly not in the Frontier world. And if we'd gone through probably all of the checks and balances that you normally have to do under the guidance of our, Fortune 250 whatever corporation, we didn't have to go that route. We have a lot of flexibility to be autonomous and run our own show. And so Todd came in with these great ideas about how to go to cities and towns, and he started with Wise, and we have others that are already in our blueprint, but we saw the opportunity to take an empty shell that has existed for, been there for 10 years in a town that's been decimated by the coal industry, not anymore thriving.
Empty shell, you're talking about the building that you're using. Exactly.
Yes.
I just want to clarify that.
Yep.
So, so you've got this kind of great building in this town that has truly been affected by, everything that we see and hear about.
Exactly.
And you were able to actually change the town.
We have been, and we're super proud of that. So what happened is, University of Virginia actually has one of their main university locations right in UVA, is in Wise. It's a state-of-the-art campus. It's beautiful, and there are about 1,000 students graduating every year. But then they have to leave. There's other community colleges as well that we're working closely with. And we see these graduates in those towns that, want to stay home and raise their families. But, like a lot of hard-hit American towns, they have to go elsewhere and find more urban environments where they'll have more opportunities. So what we were able to do is, and in fact, it wasn't really even a shell. It was I guess it was a framework for a building that hadn't ever been able to advance. And we went to the builders and we went to the state and we got all kinds of funding through this, work that really Todd led. And we were able to create a beautiful center and then decide that was a place that we would work with our partner into it and open it up and bring these initially 500 jobs with room for a lot more to bear. And we also, everybody pours into a program like this, and it becomes not just one company doing something, but it becomes a town and a village. It's really remarkable.
Was that the mayor that was on the?
We had the mayor.
Right.
He was the gentleman in the film. I have to go back and
no,
find out
that's
exactly.
fine.
But he's part of the economic development for the town. Everybody was, just crying with glee. But we also worked with the educators and with our client, helped to develop these. Training programs and learning programs for students who would be interested in a career with us. So as they're going through these courses, before graduating, if they've gone through the course and passed, they are guaranteed at least an interview with us. And these are jobs that are really, in high demand. We're not paying your typical wages for a customer care center. We're starting much higher, and we're looking to give the opportunity for this to be more of a, career with an educated background. We're trying to solve problems for customers that require human cognitive skills.
Right.
More complex work. And we do think there's very much a need for, digital automation, AI and machine learning, all of that to happen in this, very interesting space right now for customer experience. But also we want to see that happen with a human touch incorporated in it.
Yeah.
So.
No, it's yeah. Is the video somewhere that folks can all see it on YouTube or whatever? Or on
Yes,
Vimeo?
I can give you a Vimeo
Right. Maybe I'll
link
put it in the session description.
That would be great.
Of
Yeah.
this episode.
So I could tell you a little bit more about the
Yeah,
video if
yeah.
you want me, or how do you want to?
Well, I just want to, you go sweeping through the call center, and there's one, kind of younger guy in particular who you can tell, and I'm kind of getting choked up about it. You can tell that this is a great job for him. You can tell that he's really not comfortable being on camera, but you can also see the pride in his face for getting the job and being in the job and being focused on,
Yeah, so everybody feels pride around that.
Yeah.
For being able to provide it as an opportunity, and then for being able to succeed and attain it. And it really makes a difference also in, there's a big challenge in companies hiring today and people turning out on day one. This is a scenario where, we're able to pick from a very ripe talent pool of educated individuals, and then they come and they show up on day one 100%. They show up for, day zero for the training, and it just continues to, permeate that sense of, like you said, pride, and they're driven to do the best work because they know it's not just it's really taking care of their families, and
Right.
it's really meaningful, and there isn't a lot of choice. But it's not just taking a job for the sake of a job. It's taking a job that has a purpose and a meaning, and they feel good about the company that we've been doing this as well.
For you, right, because you're also in the video in that you're walking around and kind of getting stuff together there. What does that do for you as a person to just actually be in that experience? It must be like how can you even stop the tears, right? You know what I mean?
Well, we're really thrilled about having this platform. We hope that it'll continue to be the platform as we, expand.
Yeah.
There are a lot of towns and cities that are going to give you the kind of support monetarily to be able to open up centers with that support, so that makes it easier for everybody to do the right thing. But you have to think about it, and you have to plan for that. But Todd's already got a blueprint that has us several towns, several buildings out. We need the clients to want to be in those environments with us. So the video really centers around the fact that Brad Smith, who's a remarkable leader. If you've ever studied leadership, I mean, he's one that you'd be wise to follow. Mm-hmm. He came and visited us, and it really touched him because he comes from a small town very close by. And
I think he said West Virginia, right?
Yes, he did, West Virginia in particular. And he knows that, from his own experience, he got up and moved to, I think he does keep a home there, but I'm not going to speak for Brad.
Whatever,
anyway.
right.
Point is, he came and visited us, and how he spoke about how important this center was and this mission that we had to revitalize an economy that's been broken, and to see the talent that exists here, and to see the passion that exists in doing well for customers and for our own employees, really touched him, and then it touched the people. And so much so that we had some of our young employees coming up to us and saying, "Thank you so much for bringing Brad here. I will never forget this for my whole life. This has motivated me. If he can do it, I can do it. I can go, and become a CEO somewhere." I mean, it was really it was a big deal.
Yeah.
And, so it was, Brad speaks from his heart. He's very much in the moment. It was real for him, and then it's really been real for all of us, too.
Amazing.
Yeah,
That's
kind
amazing.
Of a fun story.
And you said there's other towns that will be popping up along the way here.
We're hopeful. One day at a time. We have to keep the ones we have to fill, and, still run a very profitable business.
Sure.
We have to run a business that meets the necessary margins, and we are for profit.
Yeah, of course.
But it's a hard business to run.
Here's the thing with that, right? You have to run a business that can stay in business.
Correct.
That's what you're saying.
That's what we're saying.
Exactly.
And who isn't trying to do that?
Right. All the
I mean,
people.
yeah, everybody.
You know,
yes.
even the nonprofits have to stay in business.
Exactly.
There you go. So I've got my 3 final questions. I'll tell you what they are, and then I'll ask you them in order.
Okay.
What has most surprised you at work? Now, this is in your entire career. What has most surprised you in life, and that's your entire life? And then on the soundtrack of your life, Hilary, one track, one song that's got to be on there. Hilary with one L.
I think what surprises me the most is how much of an impact we can each have on other people's lives, in how we carry ourselves and how we interact with people around us. And we all have choices to make, and we've seen, I've seen a lot of not great examples, and I've seen amazing examples. And when I find that people respond to me in the way that I never expected, that really surprises me. And again, the ability for us to have that kind of really profound, lasting impact on people's lives, that's what I think life's all about.
Absolutely. When you say didn't really expect, people respond to you when you didn't, as you didn't expect. What do you mean?
Well, somebody baked me a cake when I came in and sends me personal, written notes about how much my conversation with them mattered, stuff like that. That just, to me, it was an important conversation. I clearly remembered it, but again,
to have that level of impact,
it's a big deal.
Yeah.
And so it reminds me always to carry myself in a certain way, and I love people who've touched my life, and I remember them, even when you're sitting on an airplane, to, all kinds of things that happen. I'm a people person to begin with, but, everybody matters. But just to see when it's something that I've been able to do and it comes back to me, and it surprises me, and it's in a good way.
That's nice. What has most surprised you in life?
Oh, gosh, what surprises me in life is, we're not ageless, but, we can still thrive at all different points in our life and do new things and really have the power from within to, change our own course, I think. I mean, some things you just, there is a little bit of luck in there, and then there's a little bit of bad luck sometimes that can impact that course. But the bottom line is pick up and keep moving forward, and think big and want great. And I think, it's out there for each of us, and I'm not going to stop, striving for that wherever I go and whatever I do.
I love it. I believe it, too. I just looked into your eyes, and you were very serious about that. Think big. Well, what did you say?
I don't know. I hope you get that.
Think big and act great, I think you said.
Think big and believe in the great. And I don't know.
I think you said think big and act great. But maybe I'm wrong. I'll find out when I edit
this.
Do
the rewind.
Exactly.
Rewind the tape.
All right, Hilary. 1L, what's that about, by the way? Why are we being so efficient with...
Ask my mom,
All
Hazel. Right. I don't know.
Also 1L, I would imagine.
With Hazel?
Yeah.
Oh, yes. There you go.
Right,
Very good.
yeah, different place. All right,
You
on the
tricked me.
soundtrack, of course, on the soundtrack of your life, one track, one song that's got to be on there. So it doesn't have to be like the best song or your favorite song or the most appropriate song. It's just got to be a song that definitely would be on the soundtrack of your life.
God, but I'm going to be bad at even remembering what it was. Okay, so this is just a bizarro thing because I'm terrible with music. I love all kinds of music.
Sure.
But I remember there was a summer after college, and I was working in San Francisco, and I was living in Berkeley, and I was taking the bus across the bridge, the Bay Bridge, every day. And here's how I'm going to date myself: is back in the days where I had a yellow Sony Walkman.
I remember it. I remember exactly.
And I'm
the sport.
telling you,
It was the sport. Yeah,
it was the sport.
Right.
Oh
yeah.
my God, this is scary. So anyway, I remember staring out that window on the bus. I'd always take the window seat back then. Now in the airplanes, I always want the aisle. But anyway, back then, I can constantly replay that in my mind. It was a Steve Winwood song, and you're gonna have
Higher Love.
Back in the high life again. That is the story of my life.
Look at that.
Okay, I
because
like
you continually are there, and then take a break for a minute, and then come back.
But I always want the bar to rise.
It's always got to be better than when we were here last time. Right?
I think so.
Hilary with 1L. My God, this was a pleasure.
Thank you so much.
And there you have Hilary Hahn. I mean, that Wise Virginia story is a great one. Really, the entire town has been completely transformed through that public-private partnership, and I don't know, seems like a good idea. Thanks for listening, and stay tuned.